What's going on, everybody? This is Chad Sharp from R2 Reviews, and today we're going to be talking about Dune. Dune 2021, not to be confused with the 1984 version, which is absolute garbage, but is a new adaptation that is just, it's the perfect movie that is for a remake. Back in 1984, they did not have the technology to do the CGI, and now they do. So it has a great story, but the CGI in the 1984 version just wasn't up to par. So it is the perfect movie to be remade. I know a lot of people don't like the remakes, but sometimes it is a good thing. The story starts with three factions. You have the Fremen, who are the indigenous people of the planet Arrakis. And the planet is important because it is covered in sand, and the sand has this spice. It's a mineral that they use for interstellar travel, which makes it invaluable of what they can harvest from it. There's a imperial government that appointed House Harkonnen the rulers of this planet, causing a feud between the Fremen and the Harkonnen. Then you're introduced to House Atreides, who is rising in ranks, and the Emperor appoints them the new rulers of Arrakis, pushing out House Harkonnen. You can see where the feud is starting. So this story is right up my alley. This is a book that is the inspiration that started George Lucas's Star Wars. And as anybody that knows me, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. You can definitely tell the influence in this story. It almost feels like when you're watching it, you're watching a kind of side story of a Star Wars story. It also has little hints of Game of Thrones, and with the political aspects and the houses. The fantasy elements of this story also kind of has hints of Game of Thrones in it as well. The Fremen, they are indigenous to this planet. They are accustomed to living in these deserts, and they even developed a way to walk that it doesn't hint on the ground to warn the giant sandworms that they call the Shai Hulud, that just comes up and devours anything that it hears on the surface. And the sounds of this from Hans Zimmer, the music is just so, it's almost tribal, where it's like chanting and drums. It fits so perfectly. And the fighting, most of it is hand-to-hand combat, and it's very fast and really cool. Jason Momoa's character, who is called Duncan, he's just an absolute badass. He's very hand-to-hand combat trained, and it seems to be their best warrior. The House of Atreides is Oscar Isaac, Rebecca Ferguson, and the main character, who is Timothée Chalamet. And his character, Paul, his mom is training him in a way of like witchcraft, not witchcraft, but like magic. And she's teaching him how to use this voice that is kind of like a Jedi mind trick type of thing, where you tell the person what to do and they do it. And it's really cool to see how he at first doesn't know how to use anything, and starts getting used to using this kind of magic. He's also being trained in hand-to-hand combat from Josh Brolin's character, who seems to be the general of their military. And you really see how the mom is a part of this witch covenant, I guess, that she's supposed to only have daughters that are supposed to be in this covenant, but she had a son, and there's this prophecy of a son that basically joins all of Arrakis and is basically their savior. So there's a lot of people that think he might be him. Some people don't. But it's really cool to see the story unfold and how he really takes control over everything that he does with the magic, or really anything. He's a very good actor. All the acting in this whole movie is really good. The cast is an all-star. It's just even people that are in the background you see and you're like, oh, I recognize him from something. There's just endless things I could say about this movie. It's one of the best movies I've seen in a while, and I would definitely recommend going to see it. The theater is definitely a plus, and I would give this easily a 9 out of 10. Now we're going to go into spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want to know anything about it, come back after you've seen it. Or if you've seen it or don't care about spoilers, here we are. Let's discuss the story of Dune. Alright, welcome to the spoiler section. I'm going to be talking about the three main big spoilers of the story. First, the Emperor who appoints the House Atreides, he sent them there basically to fail, to die, because it's such a dangerous planet with the sandworms and the Fremen and now the Harkonnen feuding with them. He basically sent them there to die because they were becoming too powerful. So it was basically all set up, and it leads up to this big battle pretty much almost in the middle of the movie. And this battle with the Harkonnen, they attack. You find traitors that were in House Atreides, and they end up killing pretty much everybody. The only two that make it out alive is Paul and his mom. And the reason that they are alive is because when Harkonnen were saying that they were basically going to attack, the Witch Covenant told him that they are a part of us, you can't harm them. So he says, okay, I won't harm them, but his plan was to take them and drop them into the middle of the desert and allow them to basically die for themselves. So it has his hands clean of it so he doesn't upset the witches, but obviously there would be no story without them getting free. They end up finding shelter with the Fremen at the end of the movie, and this is just a part one of Dune. And I know there's a lot of books, and there was the 1984 movie, but there was also spin-off TV shows and different things. So there's a lot of material that they could make a lot of different continuing stories from this. There's at least going to be 2 parts, maybe more, depends on how popular this becomes. But I'm down for it. Anything that they're willing to make with this. I really like the Star Wars vibes of this story. And Denis Villeneuve, who is the director, did a great job of just capturing such a mass scale of how big these Shia LaBeouf worms are and how the action is, and everything's just so well thought out. And I just really, really enjoyed this movie, and I can't wait for part two. And even if they continue on with side stories and anything like that, I know from the books there's such a deep, rich history and like lore from everything. And some stuff I really wanted to know more about these worlds, and I started looking some stuff up, and I found out a lot of information of stuff that they didn't even touch on in the movie, but was things I was kind of questioning of why. Like, why is there no robots, or why is there no, like in Star Wars there's robots for everything. Why is there nothing like that? They have little drones, but that's about it. And I learned that in very, very, very many years ago, there was a war where the AI kind of took over humanity and enslaved them. And they had a rebellion where they fought against these robots. And ever since, there has never been any more robots. And it's really cool. And I hope they kind of dive into some of those stories, because I'd really like to know more about all of it. And at first it's a little jarring with all the different names and the different things that you have to learn about this world, but midway, maybe a few 20 minutes into this movie, I was all in. And like I said, this movie's great. Go see it. And thanks for joining. I like to hear your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.